going to be installing a 3-inch front, 2-inch rear spacer block lift kit to this 2022 Ram. So there's tons of these things out here, different brands. I just happen to go with KSP. I've used these guys before on the Jeeps actually for some wheel spacers, and so I decided to go with this. It was under $100. I'll put the link down below for all this stuff, but pretty cheap. These things are, I think, are billet aluminum. So these are the ones that go on the front here. They just go on top of our strut assembly, pull it off, pop this on top. I have to drive these bolts through, and then these will be the new studs that you bolt to and all that good stuff. And then these are ones for the back. So pretty clear cut. Then what I've read is with my 35-inch tires, I'm probably going to need to have 1.5-inch wheel spacers. That's what these are for. And then very last minute, it was kind of hit or miss when I was reading whether or not we really need to have new upper control arms. With basically what I read is anything over about 2 inches, they recommend to do the control arms. Otherwise, your upper ball joint here is going to be kind of at a weird angle, and it's probably going to shorten the life. My truck's only got 31,000 miles. It probably would be fine for a long time, but these were so freaking cheap. These are just some off-brand, knockoff, whatever. They were like 60 or 70 bucks on Amazon. I ordered them last night. They showed up today. So I figured for 60, 70 bucks, you're already going to be taking off this bolt anyway. Might as well just take off those 2 bolts and swap it out, right? So we got those. I also, again, for my wheels, I'm switching to black wheels. I didn't want to have chrome lug nuts, so I bought these off Amazon. There's some forged aluminum M14 by 1.5 lug nuts. And then I had to buy a few extra tools. I watched a bunch of videos, and some of the guys were saying that you basically want to have some ratcheting wrenches, and the specific ones they had were these flexible ones too. So I ended up buying a whole kit of those off Amazon. And again, I'll link all this stuff below, but you basically want to have a 15 millimeter, 18 and 21 millimeter. And then you want, I think, an 18, what is this guy? 19, this is a 22, and then a 15 16, and then a 13 millimeter wobbly thing. So again, I didn't have this. I just bought a set of these off Amazon too. Tools on Amazon are just so freaking cheap. I got like a whole set of these, like 20 pieces for like 60 bucks. And then this whole set, I got 16 of these things for, again, like 60 bucks. I mean, or maybe that was 100 bucks, but still, it's so cheap. I remember like 10, 20 years ago, that set would have been $500. It was just insane. It says we need to have a little plastic tool, I think just to remove the ABS wire clips or whatever. And then you're going to need a ball peen hammer just to be able to knock these control arms loose once we take all the bolts off. And you also needed an 8 millimeter hex socket and an 8 millimeter little tiny socket here. These are just for like the sway bar end links. They got like a little stud that you're going to need that for. So when you kind of think about it, all in all, like I think the leveling kit was like 70 or 80 bucks. These were 70 or 80 bucks. These were like 70 bucks. So pretty cheap, like what, under 250 bucks. These were 25 bucks maybe. So 250-ish bucks. I had to buy some extra tools. You may or may not have to do that. You may not even really need these. I think these maybe just make it a little bit easier, but I bought them just because I've always wanted them anyway. Figured, hey, why not do it and, make it easier on myself. All right, let's get one last look at this bad boy before we get our lift and wheels on. All right, so one thing you got to consider when you're putting a lift on your truck and bigger tires, will it fit in your garage? So right now we've still got some inches. Fortunately, I do not have a very tall garage door, so we probably can get 3 inches for sure, but the extra couple inches of the tires might do it. So we'll see, but we'll make it work. Well, we don't even have the truck in the garage. We ran into the first problem, which is my garage is just not long enough to fit this crew cab with the 6'4" bed on it. It sticks out by, I don't know, probably 1.5 feet. So I think what I'm gonna do, it looks like it'll just be easy enough. I'm just gonna take this, slide this over here. It's on wheels. Just move this crap, pick this table up, move the table, slide it over here or something, or behind the cart. So make a little bit of room, and then we should be able to get the truck back in, get the space we need, be able to close the garage and actually get some work done. One thing to consider before you get started on this, make sure if your wheels, whether or not they have one of the security locks, lug nuts on there. If they do, make sure you have the key. Can't tell you how many times I've bought a vehicle, didn't think to ask about that, and you find out you do have a security lock, you don't have the key. Next thing you know, you got to take this thing to Bell Tire, get them to pull it off, and pay them 25 bucks. So make sure you got that. On my Ram here, I've got a 22 millimeter I need a 22 millimeter socket size to pull this thing off. So your Ram could be different. I know there's a ton of different wheels that came out.
Clearly, I don't have a lift. We're going to be doing this on the ground with jack stands, and I'm not even sure if I'm equipped enough with like tall enough jack stands and a tall enough jack to really be able to jack this thing up. So versus jacking the whole truck up at once, I think we're just going to start with the front. We'll get the front off the ground, try to get the front all done. I think that's going to be the hardest part, and then we can move on to the back. Pumpkin and carrier and stuff, but it should be fine. So let's get this off. Those lug nuts were tight AF, dude. Like, look at this. I had to put this extension on my breaker bar just to get those things loose. There must be 200 pound-feet of torque, man. It was freaking, that was hardcore. I don't have like a good air, ratchet or even air setup to be able to just blast them off. So I usually break them loose, and then I follow it up with the Ryobi electric impact. This one's 1/2 inch. It's pretty strong, but man, there's no way I would have broke those loose. Those are just insane. Before we get too far along, I do want to measure kind of where we're at stock. So 36 and 3/8. 38 and 3/8 on the back. So hopefully we get 2 more inches and 3 inches up front. Give us some room for these 35s. All right, fellas, another consideration when you're working on your truck, do you have the right tools? Clearly I do not. So I've got this jack. This has been a tried and true Harbor Freight jack for probably 15 years. It's still going, and it works great on the cars, but this thing is fully maxed out. Got a block of wood. Now this thing only goes up 14 inches, 14.5 inches. I just took a measurement. So it's just not tall enough. Look, this tiny little wheel's not even off the ground. So, first I was trying to have a bunch of blocks of wood, and I've done that in the past on the Jeeps and trucks, and that stuff works, but man, it's dangerous. So I think I'm gonna bite the bullet. I'm gonna go get us a new jack from Harbor Freight right now. Can we please just take a moment just to revel in the awesomeness of this new jack? So this thing was like $189 on sale. This is their 3-ton, long reach, low profile, quick pump jack. I've needed to probably buy this years ago, and I just never did. I've had this jack for probably 20 years now. This is the 1.5 ton lightweight aluminum jack. And again, it's old, it's beat. I've used the crap out of it. It's never failed. I've never had to check the fluid, change the fluid, do nothing to it. It's always worked. It still works, and it's really cool for taking on like trips and stuff, because once you pop that thing off there, the handle, it is really lightweight and easy. But man, for a big truck like this thing is just, it's not the right tool for the job. Now, this bad boy, I mean, look at this thing, the box, 112 pounds. I mean, it is beastly. It's insane. This thing probably only weighs, 30 pounds or so. I can lift that thing up one hand, no problem. But anyway, all right, let's get back to it. This now is gonna raise up 24 inches versus I think we only had this one going up about 14. Buddy, this thing would go up like another 5-6 inches higher than this. Just my jack stand is not tall enough, so that's a good problem to have. I'll have to upgrade my jack stands at a later point, but this is still plenty. This at least gives me clearance to get this factory wheel and tire off, and then when we go to put the new one on, I can just give it a couple jacks while I put that on, no big deal. All right, fellas, so I'm just gonna go through real quick what we're gonna take off. Now, when I watched a lot of videos, a lot of guys have taken off the caliper and then they just hang it out of the way. So it's just 2 bolts hanging over the way. I think I'm gonna do that. We're gonna take off the upper ball joint little bolt here. If you need to, you just put something on the end of this thing to hold it and then spin the nut. And then over on this side, we've got the tie rod. We're gonna remove that too. And where's the sway bar? We're going to remove this bottom bolt on the sway bar. So you're only really removing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts plus the bottom of the strut. So what, six bolts? Now in our case, we are going to also remove this upper control arm. So we've got 1 bolt there, 1 bolt there, and they're held with captive nuts on the inside. So we've got like 8 bolts or something like that. So should be pretty simple. Now these are big ass bolts, so they're probably going to be torqued on pretty high, especially if you've got a truck that's got a lot more miles. Mine's only got 31,000. It's pretty clean. It's only 2 years old. So I imagine this should come off pretty easily, but we'll see.
All right, now to get off those 2 bolts for that brake caliper, man, those things were 21 millimeter. I got the brake caliper hung up out of the way, but those things were tight as hell. I didn't have enough room to get in this thing. I mean, it wasn't powerful enough. Anyway, if you have an air, a compact air gun, you should be able to get that stuff off. I don't have one, but man, I had to use a breaker bar on my 1/2-inch drive, and it fought me the whole way. I mean, I'm freaking sweating over here. So hopefully that's the hardest bolts to do. All right, so getting under here for this bottom of the sway bar bolt. This is an 18 millimeter. And this ratchet does actually come in handy because you wouldn't be able to get like a normal ratchet in there because the way it's in there, but this came right off. I didn't even have to use the 8 millimeter to hold this, it just slid right off, so pretty sweet. Now doing the tie rod, I've rotated the wheel, back this way to give us better access. And then we've got this 21 millimeter flexible ratchety wrench, and this thing is, I was gonna say it was taking it right off without spinning the bottom, but you can see now my bottom's spinning. So I've got to put my 8 millimeter on there to hold it, and then we'll keep getting that off. And then the sway bar, just a couple taps with the hammer, that popped that up. So hopefully this one will pop right up. And then we're gonna put the jack underneath to support, and then we're gonna get off this upper control arm bolt. And that's really all we need to do to get the strut out, but then we still gotta get these 2 bolts too. Just because we're doing a control arm replacement, but you can skip that step if you're not doing that. All right, now the tie rod, that thing just popped right out. Didn't have to, hit it with a hammer or nothing. And for this upper control arm, I can't get my particular ratcheting wrench in there because you can see where this kind of piece of that aluminum comes through. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I was able to just loosen it. This is really easy with just the open end part of the wrench. So far this isn't spinning, but if it does, we're just gonna hold that and then we'll get that off, and then we'll be good to go. And then I'll probably just try to get this whole shock out of here. And then once the shock's out, maybe I'll worry about this. Still not sure, but anyway, that's all we got. This, and then the bottom bolt for the shock, for the strut, and then we're good. All right, so it just took a few bangs. I mean, I'd say more than a few. Probably hit that sucker 30 times, 40 times, but not too much. Came right out, so that's cool. So now I'm gonna put the jack underneath it just to kind of support this. And then I'll get the nut off, and then we'll just lower the jack the rest of the way down. Now the nut off the bottom of this strut here, that's a 15/16, which is really freaking weird that it's not metric, but 15/16, 21 millimeter on this side. So I just used my wrench to hold the nut or hold the bolt, and then ripped it off with my impact. So that was really easy. Now we gotta actually drive it out of there. And then once we do that, then we can also get the bolts from up top. We got those 3 holding on the top of the strut tower up there. So that's probably where the 15 millimeter ratcheting wrench will come in. And then I'll be able to get that all out. We can pull this whole assembly out of here. All right, these 3 bolts up top, these are 16 millimeter. And again, I'm just using this ratcheting wrench. Should be able to get all those off. One of them has like a little clip on it for that wire harness right there, you can see. So you just gotta pop that off, and then we can get to all 3, get those off. This will come down a little more, and then we'll be able to easily pop out that bottom bolt. And then boom, this whole assembly should come out. So for this strut, that bottom bolt, well, first of all, these 3 came out real easy. And then I just took my hammer, got it as far in as I could, and then just took a small screwdriver, plowed it out the rest of the way. I did get hung up to where this sway bar end link wasn't all the way out, so I just had to hit that with the hammer the rest of the way, get that to come up. And then this whole thing dropped down another inch, and now you can see I'm gonna be able to just easily slide this thing out, and then we'll come back and get these bolts off there. And then that's gonna be our new replacement. So, looks like it's all the right size and everything. So, should give us the right angles and stuff we need. This is for, I think, 2 to 4 inch lifts is what it says. And that's what it looks like all of them are, and they range in price from, like I said, 60, 70 bucks that I paid, all the way up to, I saw there's like some, I think, forged aluminum ones from Rough Country. They looked sweet, but they were like 300 bucks or something like that. So just depends what your budget is, what you want to spend. All right, guys, so at this point, this is pretty simple. I've already got these studs tightened in here, so now all we got to do is bolt this on. However it goes on there, whatever. But the one thing to note is that this is going to change the rotation. So this is the way it came out of the truck, like this, but it's going to go in 180 degrees now, because the stud now, this front stud, which needs to line up with the truck, is going to be in the back, like that. So no big deal. You know, it doesn't matter. You're going to spin it around and put it into the truck the other way, and it's going to be good to go. So we're just going to take the hardware they gave us to tighten this thing down, get all three of those tight. They say recommend tightening torque is 40 foot-pounds, and then we're good to go, right?
I can't keep it still.
All right, so the hardware for this guy is 17 millimeters. All right, so we got this thing all back in there. I got the top bolts tight. The bottom one, I still have to put some final torque on it, but this thing went in pretty easily. Definitely easier if you have two people. You know, if I could have had a buddy out here helping me, that would have been a lot easier because you need one person to kind of pry down and then someone to kind of line this all up. But not too bad. I ended up using this pry bar. I don't know, pretty standard, was that maybe 24 inches long. And that thing worked pretty sweet to be able to put it through that hole, pop it down, and then you're able to just get this part in the top first and then slide that part kind of right along here, and then it goes in and all good. So that's pretty sweet. I'm going to put the control arm in next, and then we'll work on just getting this all back together, buttoned up. At this point, we've got you know, the whole strut assembly in. We've got our upper control arm in. The bolts are almost fully tight, but I wanted to leave them so that way I can move this thing up and down. And we've got the tie rod, that's completely tight. We still got to just take our jack now. We're gonna jack this up, we'll get this thing installed, and then we'll get these guys mated up and started, and then this will be complete. We'll just get it all bolted up. All right, now this is all done. I'm gonna leave this overnight, come back to it tomorrow. But one thing I'm gonna do tonight, I'm gonna spray some rust reformer. So this is that stuff you spray on kind of rusted parts and it'll convert it and stop the rust. And then when I come back tomorrow morning, I also have some underbody coating, and I'm gonna spray that, not over the whole thing, just there's certain parts you can see like that bolt's already starting to rust back there. There's some certain areas. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of hit all that stuff up, and you know, while we're under here, why not just, you know, try to make it nice, right? So we'll do that to kind of all four sides to the back. When we do it, we'll just spray it, hit it with all this, and just try to do a little preventative maintenance. Now, if you guys have never dealt with wheel spacers before, they're pretty simple. You just want to make sure you get the right ones. These ones are hub centric, so this will go right over this hub here, and that way it doesn't spin around, doesn't move on us once it's locked in place. We got some rust and corrosion, but once it's on there like that, then you just simply take your this is the hardware that comes with it, the lug nuts that come with it. You're gonna torque these all down just like you would normally, and then you simply put the wheel on top, and then go ahead and the lug nuts we're gonna use, I got these splined ones just for a little bit of added safety, security, no one's stealing them, but they were also pretty cheap, like 25 bucks on Amazon. So again, I'll put the link down below. It comes with a little key you need, and for our Rams, for these 5th gens, it's a 6 by 139.7 bolt pattern. So now we have this guy all torqued down. I had my daughter just sit in the truck, hold the brake pedal, so I was able to actually get some good, you know, make sure these were super torqued down. So I gave it about 15 ooga-doogas. That should be just about perfect. Also, don't forget about this little line, whatever this little line is for the ABS sensor or whatever. Our new control arms don't have a provision to, you know, stick it on there, so I just got a tried and trusty zip tied that bad boy on there, and it's good to go. So I think now we can finally try and get this wheel on. I also filled this thing up to 36 pounds, so we should be good. Let's try it. All right, so we finally got our wheel on. We got it back on the ground. So looks like, you know, we got plenty of clearance, obviously, left and right, up top. I did stick my hand back behind there with the upper control arm. It seems like we now have like a little over 2 fingers worth of space with those spacers. The only thing I'm not sure about yet, we'll kind of wait till we get everything done, but you can see how this thing's sticking out a bit. So like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of that, but in the future, I do want to get the little, I don't know, little wheel well cover things like came OEM. I was thinking about just getting some kind of black ones, kind of match the whole black and silver theme. So, you know, maybe that'll give it a little extra ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch, and kind of help cover that up. But we'll see. We'll see how we feel about it. But I'm going to go ahead and do the other side off camera, and then we'll move around to the back. All right, so it's kind of been in and out today working on this thing and taking breaks and stuff for work. So finally got the front done. This side, of course, went quite a bit easier and faster since I'd already done the other side and I wasn't having to film it, so that was kind of nice. I did have an issue, though, where when I was prying on that control arm and the knuckle, I did end up popping the axle kind of loose, or, you know, separating the axle, so the CV shaft. So I did have to like pop that back in. So that was a little bit of a pain in the butt. That's not normal. So be careful that you don't do that and make that mistake. But it seems to have went back in. Hopefully it's fine. If not, we'll have to throw a new CV shaft in it. But should be good to go. I did a quick measurement. So originally we were at 36 3/8 on the front. Now we are at 41 1/2-ish. So 5 inches, 5 1/4 inches, a little bit over. So that's, you know, 3 inches from the lift, but also we've got the 35-inch tires from whatever the stock ones were, probably 31-inch, maybe a little bit less. So that's going to give us that other extra height. So truck's looking pretty cool. It looks kind of funny because it is, of course, taller in the front right now than the back. You can just see how kind of funny it looks. The little tires in the back, and maybe I can get over here. So yeah, hopefully the hardest part's all done. And then now we just got to get back here and lift this up, get this stuff swapped out, get these little 2-inch spacers in the back, and then we should be done. Hopefully this is going to be a lot easier, because be ready, guys. Those 2 bolts on the brake calipers, holy hell, those things are just, they're so freaking tight. This truck's only 2 years old, 30,000 miles, and it's still just a bear. So if you've got something with real high miles on it, man, it might be a lot harder for you guys. Or if you got something really new, it should be hopefully a lot easier. Other than that, everything went fine. You know, it is kind of tricky to get that whole strut assembly back in there, and you got to use a couple different pry bars. And again, I did it by myself. If you have someone to help you, it will be just so much easier. I mean, even just if you can get your wife or, you know, grown kid to come out and just kind of help you pull it down, push it in place. Trying to do it by myself, it was really difficult, but got it done. I just love how when you watch this stuff on like YouTube, and, you know, guys got the lifts and they got all their tools and they just make it look so easy. But this is not easy work, guys. I mean, when you're dealing with these big ass bolts on these trucks and stuff, they take a lot of torque. It's difficult, you know, especially with hand tools. You know, if you got the air gun, you can get in there and blast it off. That's easy, but I don't have that, so I'm just doing, you know, mostly hand tools. I do have the electric impact I was able to use really only for the bottom strut bolt. Otherwise, it didn't fix. It's just too big in all the other spots. I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up, but I did kind of go through here and blast most of this whole underside with the undercoating. So this thing's pretty good. I mean, it's pretty well undercoated. Winter's almost over, so probably in the fall before winter again, I'll get back under here and I'll just spray the crap out of this whole thing again. But, you know, I tried to get most of it. Some stuff, like you can see this here, is still kind of covered with mud right now, so I didn't bother, you know, wasting my time painting over mud. So we'll just wait till it gets warmer, you know, and we can actually spray this thing off properly and then hit it. But I just wanted to hit it for now, just try to protect it as much as we can. All right, guys, for the rear of this thing, I got the wheels off both sides. I've got jack stands under the frame here holding it up. They weren't even really high enough to get the tire off the ground. And so I have the pumpkin or the rear differential, that thing supported in the middle and jacked up just so I could get both wheels off. Now, this should be pretty simple. All we've got to do, from my understanding, is undo the shock right there, the bottom bolt on the shock, and the sway bar. And one more bolt on the traction bar or panhard bar, whatever this big ass bar is here. So it goes up on the frame, and we're gonna unbolt it right there. So it literally should be 3, 4, 5 bolts, I think, in total. You know, pretty simple here with these bolts. I mean, easy access. And then all we're doing is putting that little isolator on the bottom of this spring right here. So it'll just sit there, spring will sit back on top of it. There's no bolts, there's no nothing. So it's really, really, really simple. All right, so shock bolt came out easy. It's just a 21 millimeter on both sides. So those guys were saying to use like one of those ratcheting wrenches and stuff, but I got my ratchet, my impact gun on the inside pretty easily. So I would just use your impact, hold the other side, boom, that's done. I just got to get a hammer, I'll tap that through. All right, so for the sway bar, this guy's just an 18 millimeter. This one, you will need to have a wrench because this, the thing will spin. So you just put 8 millimeter on this side, and then you have the wrench either this way or with the spinny dude, and you just spin that thing right off. Takes 2 seconds. Not a lot of torque on it. Pretty easy. So after I do the shock on this side, then we're gonna get this bolt off. So I think this is a 21. So I should be able to blast it off with the impact. Yep. So this is a little tab thing on the back, same as what we had in the front that was holding on the side bolts of the control arms. So that's on the back side. Just make sure when it falls, you just grab it and then put that back on. And then we should be able to slide this bolt right out. Oh man, it's so easy. There it is. So all I gotta do now is take out one more bolt for that shock, which is super easy. And we're done. I mean, we're basically almost done. Then we got to finagle all the stuff in there, but so much easier than the front. I've probably been working for like 10 minutes and we got it already to this point. All right, so I think we have everything disconnected now. We got that last bolt out on that shock. So I'm gonna lower it down. So we've got maybe 3 or 4 inches until it hits the jack. I'm hoping that's enough distance and then it can just rest on there, but we can get the springs out, but we'll see. So we're just gonna go real slow. That's painfully slow. Certainly don't want those things flying out hitting people though. That's just my jack creaking. Okay, so jack's down. We're not resting on the jack stand, so let's see how much. Seems like we still have some tension. Are we held up? Hold on a sec. I don't know, that's not holding us. Maybe that shock's in the way over there. No, the shock's not in the way. Now we've got these 2 kind of trailing arms back here, but I don't know that those would be holding us up. Yeah, there's not much tension. Okay, so I think I'm gonna try doing one side at a time here. I'm just gonna move this jack so I can push it down, and I think that'll give us the room we need. Yeah. Yep. All right. Yes, that came right out. Easy peasy. Yeah. So there's really no reason to even use the jacks. Those trailing arm things, they hold it up enough that it's not like it's gonna fall away to the ground or anything like that. All right, so that's the easy part, getting these springs out. Now we got to get them back in with that spacer thing. All right, next step, we're going to take our little spacer, and this guy, it's just going to go sit down on this cup right here, and the bottom smaller part of our spring, that's what's going to sit right on top of that cup. And then we just jam that whole thing back inside. Make sure, like for instance, my spring isolator, it's still up there, the rubber. There is a certain way that goes in where it's got a little ridge right here. And so the ridge is where the end of that top coil right here will sit. So you just want to make sure that's kind of lined up and on there. Actually, it might even be easier just to pull this thing out and put it on, but oh, well, it's kind of stuck in there, so no big deal. So we'll get that pushed down. Basically, we're just gonna have to jam this thing down until we get enough room for the spring. So might take a little playing, but should be easy. And then we just put it all back together. All right, so we made a few valiant attempts to get this spring with this thing up in here, and we're so freaking close. I can get the spacer like quarter of the way on here. I just can't get it the rest of the way. Maybe I could whack it with a hammer and stuff, but then I'm guessing the other side's gonna be even harder. So I watched some videos, lots of guys got it on without a spring compressor, but I think for me, I'm just gonna run up to the store, take me 30 minutes, pop a spring compressor on, it'll take 2 seconds versus, doing all this crap. I did also take out, there's a bolt right here that's holding on this hose, I literally had my wife standing on the brake caliper, kind of holding herself on the truck, pushing down, and she still wasn't heavy enough, and I wasn't comfortable for me to do it and have her, touch the spring and all that stuff. So anyway, it's not worth getting hurt. So we're gonna go get some spring compressors, then let's see if we can knock this the rest of the way out. So I ended up renting one of these McPherson strut tool deals. It's one of those deals you just $50 and then you return it when you're done. It's free, right? So we're gonna slap these on each side of this bad boy, compress it. We only need like an inch or something. It's so ridiculous that we're so close but so far away, and then we should be able to wrap this up. All right, if you fellas are doing this, you probably definitely want to do what I did. Get these spring compressors, because that took 2 seconds. And literally just all by myself, just easily push down, pop that right in there. So I'm gonna get these off and then we'll do the next side and we'll be. All right, so driver's side springs in too. Now this one, the rubber isolator up top was just falling out, didn't want to stay in place. So I just took some tape, threw a piece of tape around it, that held it in place just fine, and then I was able to slide this all in. So again, really easy. I was able to just do it by hand, by myself. I kind of put my toe on here and just pushed down, shoved it in, worked out sweet. All right, fellas, I got this thing, I'm getting this thing jacked back up here. Now we've just got to get this track bar, whatever, lined back up. So I'm gonna use a screwdriver, get that in, and then we just got the shock and the sway bar end link. So should be pretty easy. Those two should be easy. I think the track bar getting it lined up would be a little bit of a pain, but once you get that stuff done, then this is pretty much it. And you can see what I did here too, where I kind of sprayed everything with undercoating, rust proofed a few things, and then undercoated on top of it. So hopefully it's good. Like I said, once we get to like the fall, I'll probably come in, I'll probably spray actually all this metal and stuff black too, but I couldn't do it now because I still got a bunch of dirt in there. So we're not gonna worry about that right now, but we've got a beautiful freaking day out here. So I wanna get this thing done and get this thing out for a drive and see if it fits out of my garage. All right, we have both sides all ready to go. I got the wheel spacers on the back. Wheels are ready to go back on, but I'm not gonna put these on the back just yet because I'm just looking at how freaking tall the front is. I'm worried about the old clearance with this garage door. So I'm gonna put the stock wheels and tires on the back, and then we'll try to back it out. Let's see where we're at. The other thing I just thought about is I wanna see if we can swap out this spare wheel with the extra one that I have for these TRX wheels. I think it's gonna be super freaking tight. There's like some splash shields right there. There's not a whole lot of room there too, so yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be sketchy, but I started to pull out the jack and all this crap, so we'll try to lower this down. Let's see if we can make it work. All right, so 35-inch tires, dude, that is like the absolute max that you can fit underneath here because it's like basically touching on all sides, but it fits. So I'm gonna roll with it. I'm freaking stoked. Now we can just sell off this crappy thing with the rest of the stock set. Look at all this beefiness under here, dude. So, it's literally like, it's not touching, but it's almost touching this heat shield, so that's probably not great. It's gonna get kind of hot, but whatever. It is what it is. But, and then look, you got like no clearance. It fits, right? It's like they designed it. They're like, okay, 35s, sure, we got you. But yeah, we even got some clearance up there from that traction bar. And that thing's only gonna go up and down. It shouldn't go backwards, so that should be fine. Plus if it did, it would just rock the tire. So we'll see. We'll check it all. We'll put some miles on it and just kind of see how it all fits. But so far, so good. All right, so as it turns out, we had plenty of clearance. We could have certainly got out with the bigger tires and bigger wheels, but the way it was looking, I was a little sketchy. Anyway, so let's get this thing jacked back up. Let's get the new wheels on, and then we'll do some final measurements, give you guys an idea of what this thing looks like. And it's tall, real tall. check it out. I threw some tire shine on there, cleaned the wheels up a little bit. So it's looking pretty sweet now. Get back so you guys can take it all in. So it's pretty level looking too. I mean, if anything, it looks taller in the front, but again, I think that might just be from, brand new upper control arms. That might settle a little bit, so we'll see. Plus now we got that big ass 35 out back for the spare, so maybe that's a little extra weight kind of pushing it down. But yeah, definitely looks a lot cooler for sure. Right, so maiden voyage just went down the street here, and definitely gonna need some trimming on the wheel wells, the wheel liners. I can hear it rubbing and stuff. Like when you're driving straight seems okay. It's pretty good. I think I'm gonna go. Seems safe. I didn't die so far, so I think I'm gonna go pick up my girls. Yeah, you hear. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but yeah, when you turn full lock and stuff, you're getting a little bit of rubbing. Doesn't sound too bad. I'm gonna go check it right now. All right, fellas, as far as rubbing goes, I noticed right away it's rubbing on this side. It's rubbing this little splash guard. Now, you could take this off and totally remove it. I'd like to try and keep it, and let's get it to, come on, focus here, son, focus. So I'm gonna try to just take my Dremel tool and really just Dremel right along here, because it's kind of hitting that, right? So if it can do that, that's cool. What we might need to do is take a heat gun and get the liner really hot, and then you can actually just kind of push that liner in once it's like super hot to kind of deform the plastic the way you want to, right? So we may need to do that, but it seems like, I think the other side is not, I don't know why this thing's not focusing. The other side is not rubbing, it's just this side for some reason, so we're gonna try to get that done. All right, so I went ahead and clearanced this thing out. Now, I've got the wheel rotated right where it'd be hitting this, so you can see we've got clearance now. I mean, it is not much, so we'll just have to monitor it and see. I didn't do any kind of heat gun stuff. I just literally took my Dremel tool, just cut off the edge of that plastic there. Did the same thing on this side too. So you can kind of see just right next to where this little pop rivet is here, a little pin. I just trimmed it right down at an angle. And you can see this side's also pretty close over here, but this is full lock. It's not touching, it's close, but that's the main concern more so on that side. So yeah, I'm just gonna drive it. I gotta go tomorrow. We'll get this thing aligned, and then this thing will be, should be solid to keep driving it. All right, so I just got done with the truck over at Bell Tires. So they did an alignment for me, front and rear. And you guys definitely probably do want to get an alignment, because the front was, pretty considerably off. The back was close, but they still made some adjustments to it. So I should be driving a lot better. But you can see camber, caster, and toe, it was all kind of messed up, right? I mean, caster was within range, but they still made some adjustment. And then, yeah, toe out, steer ahead, all that stuff. I mean, it was quite a bit off. So, back and stuff back was actually fine. I guess this is the only one they changed. So back's fine, but yeah, obviously the front got a little messed up. So you certainly want to spend, $65 or whatever it is to get an alignment real quick and be good to go. So with the alignment done, I noticed that, obviously it drives much, much better now than it did. But it does ride a little bit rougher, so you can feel now that because we have, the extra spacers taking up slack of our springs are kind of acting like they're a little bit higher rate springs. So, when you go over bumps and stuff, you feel it a little more than you used to, but it's still a big, comfy truck. So, to me, it's still a nice, soft, plush ride. It still rides better than the Jeeps even, right? So, yeah, it's still fine. It just, really went from, a super, I would say, luxurious ride to, okay, you feel a few bumps here and there, but, the advantages, the truck looks badass. So, it's worth the trade-off, at least for me. That's going to be it, guys. So hopefully this video helps you out if you're thinking about putting a leveling kit on your Ram or switching to 35s. These are kind of the requirements for what you guys would need to do to fit those. We'll catch you guys on the next one.